Hey guys, welcome back to my channel McNallie Money, home of all things stock, investment, and personal finance related. Now for today's video, we're going to be talking about a company that we've actually discussed a few times on the channel before, and the company is none other than HITI. Now they just came out with Q2 results yesterday, so big earnings report that I wanted to dissect for you guys. And in addition to that, there's been a number of big news articles come out in recent weeks since our last update. So I wanted to go through these pieces of news, give you guys my bullish thesis on this company moving forward. I currently hold shares of HITI, and I've been accumulating or adding to that position for the last couple of months. I'm extremely excited about this company moving forward, especially due to their US e-commerce exposure. So without further ado, you guys, we'll roll the intro clip, we'll get into today's video. But before we do, please take a second to smash the like button. It helps me out in a huge way. It's actually my birthday this week on Thursday for Canada Day, so consider this an early birthday present. If you're not already subscribed to the channel itself, McNallie Money, take a second to do so. And let me know in the comment section below what you think of this video, if you currently hold HITI shares, and what you thought about their Q2 earnings or numbers. Now with that said, let's roll the intro and get into today's video. Okay guys, that's right. So today we're going to be talking about HITI Inc. Now as mentioned, I've talked about this company a few times on the channel before. This video here is meant to really talk about their Q2 earnings and one of the pieces of recent news that just came out about HITI. So if you want a deep dive on this company, I would encourage you to look back and take a look at some of my other videos on HITI for a little bit more in-depth company analysis, business model review type of feel. But for today's video, we're talking all news as mentioned. So as of close today, HITI was down 14 cents on the NASDAQ side of things, so the US listing, which equates to about 1.7%. Now my shares of HITI are actually held in Canadian dollars on the Toronto Venture, but I wanted to bring up the US listing here, you guys, because it actually shows the after hour action, and you can see they're up 26 cents or 3.2% in after hours after this super impressive earnings report that we're going to talk about in a second here. So based on close on Monday here, HITI had a market cap of about $400 million or about $500 million if you're looking in terms of Canadian dollars. So still a relatively small cap company in the MJ space here, especially considering the numbers they're starting to put up and the exposure they have to the US in the form of their various e-commerce platforms. So that's why I'm so excited about this company, you guys. I think they're really positioning themselves to be a huge player across North America in the MJ space, and I couldn't be more excited about the moves this company has been making. So first things first here, you guys, I want to talk about Q2 2021 financial results. Now these just came out last night, so very fresh news. I'm hoping to be one of the first channels actually talking about this earnings report. As you can see, numbers were extremely impressive. Top line revenue grew nearly 100% compared to Q2 of 2020. And you can see record adjusted EBITDA of just under $5 million here. Now everything we're going to talk about in this earnings report is in Canadian dollars, so that's one thing to keep in mind here. And as you scroll down, you can start to see some of the truly impressive numbers that HITI was able to put up in the last 3 months here. So as mentioned, revenue is up over $40 million now, came in at $40.9 million for the 3-month period ending April 30th, compared to only $20.6 million in the same quarter or Q2 of last year. Now this is actually the first quarter where they've folded in the Meta Growth acquisition and Smoke Cartel, so that's definitely helping the top line revenue profile, and we're going to talk about some of their acquisition activity in a second here. Now gross profits were up over 90% as well, so 93% to $15.0 million compared to only $7.8 million in the same quarter of last year. So both top line revenue and gross profit are growing in unison here, both over 90% year over year compared to Q2 of 2020. Gross profit margin came in slightly lower than last year, so 37% this year compared to 38% last year. So that's not moving in the right direction, but very small percentage movement there, you guys, and not anything to be too concerned about. Adjusted EBITDA, again, record-setting number here, $4.7 million compared to $1.8 in Q2 of 2020. And one of the points that I pay special attention to is the geographic distribution of their revenue. So you can see out of the $41 million they generated in this quarter, $35 million came from Canada, with nearly $6 million coming from the United States. Now, obviously, the US has not federally legalized MJ at this point in time, so this is really coming from CBD products, smoking accessories, and a variety of paraphernalia or supporting products outside of the MJ or MJ derivatives themselves. And I'm really looking at these platforms as being the foot in the door that High Tide needs. So as soon as the US federal government legalizes MJ, this company is going to be off to the races, and it's already got the returning customer base and the e-commerce network in place to make a meaningful impact immediately. Now, the last two bullet point highlights here have to do with the segment breakdown of the revenue. So 38.4 million, or the lion's share of revenue, was actually generated through the retail segment, which makes sense because this is primarily a retail company. The other 2.5 was from wholesale. Now, they are starting to break into the wholesale vertical, but as of right now, you guys, this is really a retail company, whether it's e-commerce or brick and mortar. That's where High Tide is focused, and I think that's really the strength that they need to play to. And last but definitely not least is cash on hand. So they're now sitting on just about $30 million Canadian compared to $7.5 million 6 months ago. So healthy cash position that's continuing to rise and really gives them a lot of flexibility to continue this streak of acquisitions that we're going to talk about on the next page here. Now, Raj Grover, President and CEO, gives his thoughts on this quarter, saying, "I'm extremely proud of our results, especially given the macro backdrop we faced. In Ontario, the largest MJ market in Canada with the most population, due to the pandemic-related restrictions, our stores were closed for in-person shopping throughout most of the second quarter, with only click and collect and delivery permitted by regulation." Now, this is really important, you guys. As a retail company, they were hit extremely hard by the pandemic over the last couple of years here. And the fact that they're able to grow revenue, gross profit, adjusted EBITDA at this type of rate, despite these huge challenges, is truly impressive. Now, obviously, this was a setback for the company, but I think forcing customers to go through the click and collect or online e-commerce experience may actually turn out to be a long-term benefit for this company, because it's really building the behavior and it's really creating sticky customers that have their logins, passwords set up for these websites where they can go shop, purchase their products, and have a much easier and more user-friendly experience. And if Amazon has taught us anything, it's people love buying stuff online versus traditional brick and mortar retail. Now, if we continue to scroll down, there's a couple events that happened after the quarter finished that I wanted to bring up because we're going to talk about them as we get into the investor presentation in a couple of pages here. So number one, they now have about 151,000 Cabana Club members. So this is their brick and mortar retail customer loyalty or membership program. So that's great to see that that's growing at such a healthy pace. They completed the acquisition of Fab Nutrition, which we're going to look at in a few seconds here. They closed an oversubscribed bought deal for an additional $23.2 million, so bolstering that cash position even further. Obviously, they've uplisted to the NASDAQ. That's why we're talking about the US listing on this company. So that was great. That came in the form of a 15-to-1 reverse split or share consolidation that took place on May 14th. So a lot of you may have remembered that when your shares actually got traded in, and that's when we saw that bump up over the $10 mark. Now, as a result of getting that notoriety and uplisting, they've actually been added to two very prominent ETFs or exchange traded funds that track the MJ market. So the first is MJ ETF THCX. The other one is Advisor Shares Pure MJ ETF, or ticker symbol YOLO. So that's fantastic, and obviously being a part of that basket of companies is great for High Tide moving forward. Number one, it forces these ETFs to buy shares off the open market, and secondly, it's essentially free advertising to the investment community for High Tide shares. They opened a couple new stores in Alberta, a few in Calgary actually. I remember reading those articles. And the final point I wanted to mention here is they actually announced the acquisition of DHC Supply. This is the new acquisition that I wanted to talk about in more detail. DHC stands for Daily High Club, and this is actually a subscription box platform or program in the United States, very similar to a lot of the meal deliveries, arts and crafts, clothing boxes, any of those type of delivery services that come on a recurring monthly basis, which obviously generates recurring revenue for High Tide. And that one I'm super excited about. So perfect segue here, you guys. This is the article, came out June 25th, so very recently as well, talking about this expansion into the US, really bolstering their portfolio of e-commerce platforms through the acquisition of DHC or Daily High Club. So with this acquisition, you guys, High Tide now owns 3 out of the top 5 most popular e-commerce platforms in the entire world. So globally, totaling 91 million site visits in 2020, of which 23 million actually came from Daily High Club by itself. They currently have over 15,000 subscribers to their box membership program. And again, you can see pending federal legalization, they're using this platform to actually send out MJ subscription boxes. So right now, it's just supporting products or accessories, but High Tide intends to flip that immediately as soon as regulation allows. On the social media side of things, DHC has over 800,000 followers on Instagram and 75,000 followers on TikTok. So very well-known company, very active in the social media realm. They've got their own in-house brand, of which they've sold over 1 million accessories. So that's going to add to High Tide's portfolio and brand equity overall. It's going to be immediately accretive, meaning that it immediately adds value to High Tide's portfolio overall. And their pro forma revenue run rate is now going to exceed $50 million Canadian in the United States alone. So obviously super excited about this acquisition, you guys. This is really what I like about High Tide so much. Obviously the brick and mortar reach and footprint here in Canada is super impressive. Cabana is one of the most well-known MJ shops across this nation. But for me as an investor in this company, what I really want to see is the US presence and the US exposure. And I think they're laying the groundwork perfectly to set this company up for years and years of aggressive growth over the next decade here. So if you jump over to the DHC website, you can see the different types of products that they offer. So up top, you have the bongs listed. They've got dab rigs, scientific bongs, pipes, accessories, clothing, apparel. They have a membership program as well. And if you actually click on the subscription tab here, this is the monthly offerings that you can subscribe to. So they've got the Connoisseur V2, which is a $20 a month package, comes with 7 to 9 products monthly, curated by their experts. It's got free shipping in all of the United States, $7 if you're shipping to Canada. Then they have the El Primo, so this is one step up. This is going to be $30 US per month. And then on the other end of the spectrum, they have what they call the Raw Essentials. This is $10 a month, very basic product. So rolling papers, filter tips, lighters, assorted stickers, stuff like that. So that's kind of their entry-level product. And you can only imagine how they're going to expand this lineup if and when MJ becomes available in the US. So as I mentioned at the start of the video here, you guys, we're not going to do a deep dive on High Tide's business model in this video. I've already done that on the channel. If you're interested, go check it out. I put it out about 2 to 3 months ago, and it's definitely worth 20 minutes of your time. But I did want to jump into the investor deck for a second here, because I really wanted to highlight the various different e-commerce or online platforms that they now have in the US. So as mentioned, Cabana, that's the brick and mortar retail here in Canada. They've got 87 locations, which really makes them a national leader in the retail space here. I've been into a couple of these stores in the past few weeks. They're beautiful, they're fresh, they're modern, they're busy. There's actually lineups to get into a couple of these locations when I attended, and customers seemed really eager to actually spend their money in these locations. So that was cool to see as an investor in High Tide. The middle section here is really what I wanted to bring your attention to though, you guys. So online presence, they've divided it into 2 categories. So accessories, which is really focused on the Grass City banner and the Smoke Cartel. Now between these 2 brands, they actually represent the world's 2 largest stores for consumption accessories. So 80% of the purchases in this category in the United States are from one of these 2 websites. Now on the other side of things, the CBD side, they have Fab CBD, which we just talked about closing that acquisition, and then CBD City, both of which offer proprietary, best-in-class CBD products and derivatives for their customers. So between the 4, very well-rounded portfolio of websites, and then you add to that now, you guys, DHC, Daily High Club, and you can really start to see the identity of this company coming to fruition. Now we did briefly touch on the wholesale side of things, couple $1 million, really not the focal point of this company, but they do have 2 different banners there, so Valiant Distribution and Famous Brands. Again, we're not going to talk about those in detail in this video. So in terms of the 4 existing e-commerce platforms, here's Grass City. So this is actually the world's top accessory e-retailer. It's been around for over 20 years. It was founded in the year 2000, and High Tide actually has 100% interest in this company. They've had over 26 million site visits in 2020, 100,000 orders in 2020, and their database now has over 500,000 customers listed. Over 77% of their visitors actually come from North America, with the majority of those actually coming from the United States. Now, they do have a presence internationally as well, so the United Kingdom and other countries around the world, but really focused on Canada and the United States. And they've got nearly 300,000 visitors between their various social media platforms. So again, between the 5 brands here, you guys, massive reach in terms of their overall or cumulative social media presence. So next up is Smoke Cartel, again 100% owned by High Tide. This one came around in 2013. They're actually using drop shipping as a way to really connect brands to the vendors. They've got over 15,000 SKUs on the platform itself and about 42 million site visits last year alone. And again, in terms of social media, over 1 million different subscribers across the various platforms. Fab CBD, so this was their most recent acquisition prior to DHC. This one was founded in 2017, so quite recently. Again, over 1 million unique site visitors last year, almost 125,000 orders. And another interesting angle about Fab CBD, you guys, is these are actually branded products. So they can start selling this brand on their other platforms as well, which really gives them the opportunity to cross-promote and cross-sell their customer base. And then the final one, CBD City. This really focuses on a number of proprietary or innovative CBD derivatives or products. So you can see the gummies there. They have pet products, topicals, drops, and even coffee. So now that we've taken a look at their most recent earnings, we've talked about their e-commerce acquisition, we've talked about their current portfolio of websites focused on the North American market, I wanted to start to wrap things up for you guys, give you my price prediction on High Tide moving forward, and summarize exactly why I'm so excited about this company. So in terms of price prediction, guys, I jumped into my Questrade account here. Again, I went down to the research tab. I searched up High Tide, again, on the NASDAQ side of things, but you could use the venture listing as well. And if we look at our smart score on High Tide, you can see it's rated an 8 out of 10. So an outperform rating. Now this is powered by TipRanks. If you guys have been looking for an online brokerage, I would highly recommend you take a look at Questrade. I know there's some others out there, but for me, as someone who's tried a number of these different platforms, I can tell you with confidence that Questrade is top of their class. They offer super competitive commissions, great research tools, full access to all the different companies and exchanges you might want to trade, plus a really well built out options trading platform. So if you've been thinking about jumping into the stock market or you've considered switching brokers recently, take a look in the video description below. I have a link in there for Questrade. If you sign up using that link, you'll actually get a $50 credit to help out with some of your initial trade commissions. So it just really sweetens the deal. I get a kickback as well, you guys, so it helps both of us out. And again, I would highly recommend this platform. Now switching gears back to High Tide here, you can see in terms of the analysts covering this company currently, they have an average price target of $16.27. Now the blogger sentiment is obviously bullish. There's a lot of hype around this company right now. News sentiment, again, very bullish. Technicals are positive. The only one that's showing negative currently is this TipRanks investor sentiment, which I'm not too concerned about because overall here, you guys, we've got the majority of categories showing strong bullish indicators. Now, if I jump into the analyst ratings tab, you can see 100% buy rating on High Tide currently, with both of the analysts currently covering this company with $20 and $21 Canadian price targets. So that's where you get that $16.25 American or US dollar price target. So realistically, you guys, they're expecting about 100% return or the opportunity to double your money within the next 12 months. Now for me, I'm a little bit more bullish on High Tide than this. They haven't factored in the acquisition of Daily High Club, nor have they factored in the Q2 results that just came out yesterday. I think this could easily be a $25, $30 company in terms of Canadian dollars within the next 12 months. And as soon as they get the green light in the US in terms of MJ, this company is absolutely going to be off to the races. Now, we've seen a number of states already legalized so far this year. I would expect federal legalization to occur within the next 18 months, you guys. And that's why I'm continuing to accumulate shares in High Tide and a handful of other companies that I feel have some great US exposure to this industry. So to close things out here, you guys, super impressed with the Q2 numbers. Couldn't be more excited about the top line revenue growth, tons of cash on the balance sheet. They already had a great online presence in North America, and I think Daily High Club just makes it that much better. So for me, this is a company that I have no plans on selling. I'm going to be adding every opportunity I can, and honestly, I'm happy if the share price continues to hover around these levels to allow me to accumulate more shares at such a great discount. So that's it for today's video, you guys. Hopefully you enjoyed. As mentioned, check out my other videos on High Tide if you want a deeper dive on the company itself. Make sure you smash the like button. It's 100% free to do. It helps me out in a huge way. If you're not subscribed to the channel itself, McNallie Money, feel free to do so. And let me know in the comment section below what you thought of this analysis and if you're currently holding any shares of High Tide in your own account. On a final note, you guys, have a great rest of your day and thanks so much for watching.